souhaiter une bienvenue à tous. Celui ou celle qui sont...
Gas price is way too high. Vladimir Putin needs to die. Gas price is way too high. Vladimir needs to die.
Je voudrais vous souhaiter une bienvenue à tous. Celui ou celle qui sortira vainqueur.
Thank you so much for coming on to our show here at Talker. I know you're a busy guy. You just were up in New York, I believe, was it?
Yes, I was at Barstool headquarters fighting with, we're not really fighting. I brought my wife's boyfriend, Ontarius, to go up there. And I just wanted to talk to Dave, and he needed to use the bathroom, and they were not about that. And they kicked us out. They beat us up. And
yeah, well, I don't know what happened, but I know I told our producers that I said, well, you know, whatever we do, we can't cancel this interview.
No, you can't. I'll come in there. And we're in a beautiful place. Like, people don't know this. Elvis has a very nice, similar to Elvis's actual house in Graceland. I don't know. Have you ever been to Graceland?
I've never, but I have to go visit.
You need to go now. The real Graceland. It's so cool. I'm a diehard Elvis fan. I'm guessing your parents had to like Elvis.
Where I'm from over there so I'm from Bosnia in Europe, which is next to Croatia, Serbia, Germany.
Okay.
And Elvis is a very popular name.
Yeah.
I really don't think it's because Elvis Presley.
Oh, it's not. It's nothing to do with that.
My parents just named me Elvis because it was popular in our little circle.
Yeah.
It wasn't like they weren't.
See, I love the name Elvis. I would name my kid Elvis, but I grew up loving Elvis Presley.
So I just want to see, to get to the bottom of the most viral clip of yours.
Okay.
Did Dave Portnoy invite you to an interview and then try to cancel last minute?
Okay, well, just long story, Elvis. So basically what happened is, I'm going to give you the long story, trying to shorten it. But, you know, like the reason why people know who I am is I go to city council meetings, or I go and I confront politicians, you know, ambush interviews. Like, I kind of do wild stuff. But at the beginning of the year, it was February, so it was like right near the Super Bowl, that I was calling into a lot of city council meetings, and I called into the Cincinnati, Ohio city council meeting, and I was like, I was suicidal, I was going to kill myself. And then the Bengals started winning. I bet everything I had on the Bengals, and now they're going to the Super Bowl. I was like, oh, my life is back. I'm great. Like, I now have all this money. And Barstool Sports shared this video, and after about an hour, they took it down, and I messaged my buddy that works there. And I was like, dude, why did y'all take down the video? He's like, oh, well, you talked about suicide. And because we're owned by a gambling company, like, you know, there is a big thing, like 1-800-GAMBLING, you know, that. So I was like, okay, I get it, Barstool. Like, maybe you guys are trying to be professional. Like, they took down that video. Then, like, fast forward, like 3 or 4 months, I have a video where I'm at Las Vegas, and Chad Ochocinco, the famous wide receiver, retweets it. So then immediately Barstool retweets it. It has like 3 million views, and it's just me basically being like, oh, I lost all my money, then I slept with this prostitute and ended up being a transsexual, and how I'm mad at, you know, whatever. It's just a goofy thing. It was a total joke. They share it, and then once again, after an hour, they delete it. And so then I call out Dave. I'm like, Dave, you guys, like, you are accused of some of the worst things ever, but my content is too X-rated for Barstool, ? And then he lost it. He just went after me. Then he got ratioed. Once he got ratioed, he said, oh, hey, maybe I should invite this guy on my podcast. He invites me on his podcast. Within that 30 minutes of him inviting me on his podcast, he sees a video where I'm yelling at pro-abortion protesters. You know, I'm like at one of my abortion protests. And he shares, he's like, I would never let this political guy on my show. Yet he talks about politics, political stuff all the time, and he wants to be considered conservative, which, you know, is whatever. You know, that's just a typical grift people want to have. And he's trying to kind of grift over, oh, let me get these right-leaning people to be on my side, when really he's into abortion. He's anti-gun. I mean, he's into, you know, he's as liberal as he gets when it comes to a lot of his viewpoints. So I guess my whole point is, we got in this huge internet beef. I let it die down. I just was like, oh, nothing. Him and I don't like each other. And I was just waiting in the woods like a tiger, Elvis, for my opportunity. And there was an opportunity actually where I was going to go to Houston. He was at an event, and I was going to go troll him. But Glenn Beck, who I work for at The Blaze, it was the first time he asked me to be a guest on his podcast. So I was so mad. I was like, oh, I was going to go get Dave. But then Glenn asked me to be on. I didn't want to like reschedule Glenn. I was like, of course, Glenn, I'll be on your podcast. You know, you're the top guy at our network. I would say whatever he asked me to do, I'd say yes. So it was just kind of funny. It worked out where I didn't get him that time, but then I brought in my wife's boyfriend. He got his butt hole all over Barstool Sports, and now we're sitting here talking about it.
Yeah, I saw the viral clip. I mean, definitely, it seems like the ladies were ready to put their hands on you.
They did. Elvis, what do you mean? I almost did it. Okay, so it's so funny. If you watch the video, for the people playing at home, you need to go watch it.
I'm right here. Okay. I'm doing
But I'm saying we walk into the office, and I get it. They of course they go after John Terrius, my wife's boyfriend, first, even though I'm the first one in the building because they felt like he was a bigger threat. But my point is, they kick us out, and they're punching us. We get out, and I'm laughing the whole time. We're not fighting back. So we're on the other side of the glass door. We can't get back in the office. We're sitting in the hallway waiting for the elevator, and the girls come out into the hallway and then proceed to kick my ass. I mean, that's what they're crow hopping me, and they're like kicking, they're not like karate kicking. They're like kind of like curb stomping me, like in my genital area. Like as I'm trying to get in the elevator, one girl breaks her nail on me. I have her staph infection blood all over me. I mean, it was insane. It's something that. And listen, I've been kicked out of every company, Best
You've
Buy.
been spit on, I saw before.
I've been kicked out. I mean, you'd never see an employee at Target come out and like start crow hopping you. You'd never have like an employee, whatever at Apple Computers or, Dell Computers come out in the hallway and kick your ass. But yeah, Barstool Sports did. And maybe that's what makes them great. But at the end of the day, I out Barstooled Barstool by bringing in the naked homeless guy pretending to be my wife's boyfriend. And when I say they, I mean Dave, has no sense of humor about it. Like they were laughing. I don't know if you saw the clip that it went viral after. He said, I should have been shot. I should have been murdered. And how it was not funny at all. But then he proceeded to laugh about it on the whole interview for 15 minutes. Like, it was so funny when Spider came around the corner. Oh, it was so funny when they react like this. So he's laughing about the video. But me doing the video is not funny. But the way every Barstool employee reacted to it was just hilarious.
So did you go to New York specifically for
No.
visit Barstool, or you had something else in mind?
I had some. I was up there for a birthday party for Ann Coulter, who I was actually. Elvis, you're a wealthy young man. You probably get to have experiences like this all the time. But I was a guest and a guy named John Ledecky, who's the owner of the New York Islanders. I was a guest in the owner's box. Wow. And like I said, I've never had that experience, like free hats, free shirts, free Beanie Babies, all you can eat food.
The verified check on IG.
That's what I'm saying. The verified check on IG. I'm in the owner's box now. No, it actually felt like a celebrity, like, oh, Mr. Stein. But at the same time, so I'm there with Ann Coulter, who is a conservative, icon or conservative media icon, but she has some friends from the New York Times that are there. So there's like 4 people in the box that hate my guts. These New York Times reporters, they didn't even want to shake my hand. Wow. When I introduced them, like, oh, I'm Alex. Like, oh, they knew how, acted like I was just beneath them. So like, it was just kind of funny in the box because it was such a big box. Luckily, they were on like one side of the box and I'm on the other. But there was like heat within the box. And the New York Times reporter didn't like me. And then there was journalists from like Breitbart, from other journalists from like kind of middle thing that were like interested in talking to me. Some journalists like from Breitbart, they're like, oh, hey, Alex. It was just funny how it worked. Like the New York Times was, they were disgusted. Couldn't even sit next to me. Wouldn't even barely shake my hand. But then the other reporters were like, oh, hey, what's going on with this? Oh, we liked it when you did this. Oh, that was a little out of line when you did this. At least the other journalists were.
But when you're in that group of people, does it give you a sense of urgency where you almost want to just pull your phone out and go crazy?
Yes, it does. It does. Well, because it was a box and it was a professional setting. Yeah, like the New York Times guys, I wanted to be like, oh, you guys are such beta, soy boy. I want to do that. But at the same time, like I said, I don't ever get invited to nice places. So I'm sitting in a freaking literal owner's box with the actual owner, John Ledecky. As his team is getting beat, like we were down, or I say we, I'm an Islanders fan, but the Islanders, the team I was rooting for, we were down the whole game. So I don't know how to explain it, but I'm in this place where I feel like I don't have imposter syndrome because I'm just being myself. Like I'm not like impersonating somebody at this box. I'm actually being extra myself. I was being extra indulgent, being extra obnoxious. But my point is, it's like these elitist type people like this, I don't even like want to be accepted by them. I don't even like really want to be their friend because they think they're better.
If Dave Portnoy called you back on a show, would you go?
I'd go in 2 seconds, dude. I'd go on, and I would like to be water under a bridge, or water off a duck's back, whatever cliche you want to use. I don't really want to have any serious heat. I mean, yeah, I'm a little mad, and like, yeah, they deleted this, but he like actually has animosity towards me only because I've kind of showed him up, and I'm a nobody with a few 100,000 followers when he has millions. So I just think that's why I guess he feels like I've embarrassed him or something. But no, dude, if he said, "Hey, Alex, I'll have you on your podcast," and even if I was going into the Barstool Sports studios knowing that I was going to get trolled or that I was going like the sheep in the lion's den or whatever, I would still go. I would go by myself in a room with 10 Barstool guys. They want to come at me. Bring it on like Donkey Kong. I will sit there and whatever. We'll have a public debate. We'll have a private debate. I don't care. I'm just saying I'm not afraid. I'm not the one. I'm the one that goes to Barstool to speak to Dave. Dave's the one that's ducking me.
Do you think he was in the building and not wanting to come out?
No, I don't think he was in the building. From what I see, he was.
If he was, do you think he would have been the first one out there?
It would have been great. Well, see, Mincy, the guy I've known a guy that works at Barstool for 15
Do you think
years.
Dave's the type that would try to put hands on you?
No, he's a dwarf. He's like 5'4", and he tells me 900 pounds. I am big, and I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to just look at a picture of Dave the whole time I'm on the treadmill.
What is that body shaming by Dave?
Yeah, I know. Well, but the body shaming is a good way to make people lose weight, so I actually don't hate him for that. That I actually like, Dave. What I don't like about Dave is I just don't like how they were like laughing about how they interviewed. Like literally, they're showing a clip from my footage. They're like, the way, and I don't know who this employee is, but his name's Shark. They're like, the way the shark was coming around the corner, it was so funny. They're like, ha, like hyenas laughing at it. And then like this next thing is like, yeah, but the whole bit, it just wasn't funny. I'm like, you were just laughing at the bit. It's just. Was the only unfunny part of it, I guess.
Now, I saw you went to Florida. You were shoulder to shoulder with Donald Trump. How did that feel?
Yeah, that was great at Mar-a-Lago. But honestly, dude, I mean, I love Donald Trump. I think he's great. I think, what happened to him in 2020 was ridiculous. But at the same time, when I go to Mar-a-Lago and as a person that's a quote unquote grifter, clout chaser or whatever, like trying to move up in the media world, you do kind of get that feeling when you're at Mar-a-Lago, like, everybody there, most of the people were nice, but you know what I mean? You're like trying to be seen. And I don't know. I didn't really like that vibe of it, if that makes sense. Like it seemed really cool. It is very cool to go to Mar-a-Lago, but now everybody wants to go to Mar-a-Lago. Like that's not how we win a culture war. That's not how, we help America.
For sure. What's your opinion on Elon Musk buying Twitter?
I mean, I definitely like now that they're censoring, actually, I take that back. I don't like that there's any censorship whatsoever, but I like that the left is getting a little taste of their own medicine that they haven't ever had to deal with. So now that they're realizing, hopefully, I'm hoping, because I don't believe they should be kicked off or deplatformed. Right. Even if they have totally different viewpoints than me, I definitely believe they should be on there. I'm just happy now maybe they're getting these little temporary suspensions, and now they're going to be like, hey, maybe we should have some sort of internet bill of rights where you can have free speech on these accounts. And basically, what did he suspended them for doxing them. Like technically, I'm all about free speech. I think the internet's anything goes. But like if you are inciting violence or saying I want to kill you or something like that probably shouldn't be allowed, whatever. And if you're saying, oh, this person's at this address at this time, go get them. That I can see that not being allowed. But like me saying ivermectin is okay, that should be allowed. You know what I mean? It's different.
I feel like the biggest thing is trying to find the difference between hate speech and free speech, right?
Well, see,
free speech has become hate speech. It's like anything that you could feel like you should freely be able to say is now considered hate speech. I feel like hate speech should be toned down a little bit to allow free speech to come out a little bit more, right?
But see, this is the thing, Elvis. Hate speech should be allowed because there's bad stuff that we're allowed to hate, right? So it's like, I can't hate you. I can't hate you because you're marginalized, but there's like the Holocaust or something saying bad. I can hate that. So I'm saying, and it's weird how to police that because there are some things that I can speak apparently bad about that is allowed, but me trying to like, quote unquote, hate speech towards another individual, that's not allowed. So it's just this really weird thing. And I hate the censorship. It's funny because I go viral because I go to these city council meetings and I can basically say whatever I want there. I have more freedom of speech in those city council meetings because oftentimes I'll post a video, then the video gets censored or taken down off YouTube or Twitter. So I'm allowed to say in the public meeting what I want. You have freedom of speech granted to you by the Constitution in those meetings, but on the internet, you do not have those rights.
Yeah, the internet's a weird place lately, right? Have you ever gotten any strikes or things like that?
Yeah,
I'm sure you've gotten a few,
right?
That's
the understatement of the year. The internet is a weird place. Yeah, and it's getting weirder too, Elvis. Like, I don't know how long you've been doing your podcast. Like, I've been doing mine about like 3 years, but I'm saying you get more ingratiated in internet culture. And I'm sure internet culture, right? Because like pop culture stuff. But once you start becoming a content creator, which you are, it's like you even get more ingratiated in internet culture and the internet becomes even this bigger, scarier, weirder thing. I'm sure you're starting to notice.
No, the internet definitely can be your best friend or your worst enemy, and it just depends the way you move. And you make one wrong move, and it's like, look at Kanye West, for example. The guy lost everything within 24 months based off of the things that came out of his mouth.
Yeah, and I think he could have a comeback. I think everybody in America likes comebacks. But, I mean, Kanye West, he's just – and I actually – the people that are helping him out, I'm friendly with Nick Fuentes. I'm friendly with, some of the guys that are on his team. But this is the thing I would say to Kanye's face. Nobody is ever going to vibe with Hitler was good. I mean, because people are going to actually vibe with a lot of what he's saying, more people than what people think. So, you know, more people are going to be like, actually, Kanye's making a lot of sense than what the mainstream media thinks. But even those people, even like your kind of niche audience that are people that are like, oh, he's got a good point. He's going after NWO. You're never going to be able to get like the populace, the everybody on board by saying Hitler was not.
I feel like that just took him.
I just took
10
him
steps
out.
back.
That's what I'm saying. Just that statement. And he's saying that to be edgy. And it's like, it's just not. I want to be ride or die Team Kanye, but that I just can't.
To get a little bit back about you, before social media, what were you doing for a living?
Dude, I was doing a lot. Well, I worked for the TV show Cheaters. You ever watch that show?
Yeah.
Yes, people cheating on their husbands and wives. So I worked for that show.
Were you behind the scenes more
Yeah,
producing?
yeah,
or?
I was a producer on that show.
Okay.
And then the host of the show became one of my best friends, a guy named Clark Gable, and he actually died of a fentanyl drug overdose. He was prescribed pain pills, like from a doctor in California. When he ran out of those, he went and got like street pain pills, not like heroin or anything, but he bought, I don't know, the Oxycontin or Vicodin, you know, some prescription pill, but it wasn't a real prescription pill. It was like a cartel pressed pill with fentanyl in it. And this guy had a high tolerance, Elvis. I'm sure you know people that like party and stuff. And you have friends who are like, man, I would never expect that guy to die of a drug overdose. Dude, I get a call from his fiance. It's like, yeah, Clark's dead. He didn't wake up, went to bed, didn't wake up. And, you know, his 19-month-old baby's in the bed with him. I'm just saying, you know, he died not in a blaze of glory, like just trying to take a pain pill, probably because he was hungover or tired or just wanted to go to sleep. And he woke up dead. And so I was supposed to be the next host of that show. And then when it came time, April 2020, the pandemic starting, like we're seeing all this crap out of China, like all this weird, you know, stuff. We're like, what is Corona? We don't even really know. And we're about to start filming this show. And they hired this 52-year-old black dude named Peter Guns, and they make him change his name to Peter Pankey because the show is owned by, or it's distributed by Viacom, which owns MTV, VH1, and CMT, Country Music Television. So they were just being ultra social justice warriors. So I lost my job. Well, I still could have worked as a producer, but I lost a job I didn't have. Like, you're going to be the next host, and then I get fired before I even get to start. And that's when I started my own podcast. And that was the greatest thing ever. At the time, Elvis, I was so sad. Like, Dad, I was going to make $150,000 and you only worked 6 months, you know, it's, you know, and I was like, I was going to be rich, you know.
But sometimes that's what it takes for you to get crushed, where that motivation just comes out of you. And then next thing you know, you have the whole world in your hands and you start to kind of like see the bigger picture, right?
Yeah. And now that's small potatoes compared to what I built up. So yeah, I mean, it was a blessing in disguise, as they say. So you never know what is bad until you really get some perspective. You know, it's like, I hate to, rip off Dan Bilzerian, but I always rip him off in the story. It's called, like, do you know the story of like it's like the, what is it, the proverb of the Chinese farmer? So it goes like this. So, like, you know, there's this Chinese farmer and his horse who was, you know, tending to the field, and his horse ran off, and everybody in like the village is like, oh, that's so terrible, your horse ran away. And the Chinese farmer's like, maybe. And then the next day his horse came back with like 5 more wild horses. And everybody's like, oh, that's so great. You know, now you got all these extra horses. And he's like, maybe. Then the next day, the farmer's son is tending to the horses, and one of the horses trampled the son's legs. And it was like, oh, that's so terrible. Your son's legs are broken from those horses. And the Chinese farmer's like, maybe. And then the next day, the draft service comes around. The conscription service is what they call it. And they go and they don't draft his son to fight in the war and die, because his legs were mangled by those horses. So the moral of the story is, you don't know what is bad or good, right? To get perspective on it.
Right. Yeah, and at one point something could seem so bad, and it could seem like it's your worst day ever, and then a year back you look later, you're like, that was the best thing that ever happened to me.
And it's easy to say that now, and I'm sure somebody's probably watching this having the worst day, and I've been there, so I empathize with that. So it's not like, oh, you're just going to have a bad day, and then all of a sudden life just goes in the right direction. You do have to, like, go out there and take control. You are the narrator, author of your own autobiography. So, like, when a bad thing happens, that has to motivate you to overcome it. I think that's what it did, like you said, because I was like, oh, I'm going to be on this. I'm going to have editors and be on this show. And, you know, that's what I kind of always wanted. I always wanted the a la carte. This is how you make it in the entertainment world. And then me not getting that and realizing now I got to start over from scratch, learn how to edit my podcast, learn how to run OBS. It's an open broadcasting source, you know, learn how to edit, learn how to shoot. Not that I didn't know how to do it, but I'm talking about doing it for myself in a guerrilla style without a crew, forcing myself to do that. and wanting to do is a lot of hard work. Now I have endless opportunities. Now I'm in a mansion with Elvis talking on the Tucker podcast. So it can happen to you. Your dreams can come true. It can happen to you, but you got to do something about it. You can't be a baby back bitch and just smoke weed all day and do nothing.
Do you feel like your dreams have been accomplished where you were from, let's say, 5 years ago? Or by now, do you have new dreams that those dreams from back then don't even feel like dreams anymore?
Yeah, I mean, I still haven't like had my quote unquote dreams fulfilled, but I'm going in the right direction. I mean, dude, Elvis, it was not that long ago. Like I said, I was working for Cheaters, but I was also selling cars, because how Cheaters works is, it's seasonal. So it would work like 6 months on, 6 months off. Or like,
There's only so many cheaters out there.
Yeah, well, it's not even that, but I mean, there's only so many episodes. It wasn't like full year. Usually we'd do like, 6 months on, then you take like 4 or 5 months and then, come back. So I'd sell cars. And dude, there's sometimes when I'm like, oh man, I don't want to go to the city council meeting, or I don't want to put this microphone in this politician's face. And I just think about like, Jose, or just like a little Hispanic guy being like, Senor, like, and it's 120 degrees. He's like, oh, there's a leak in the transmission. I'm like, no, there's not. He's like, no, get on the ground. And I'd be there in my jacket and my jeans. It's 120 degrees heat. And I'm looking underneath a Tahoe, and I can just go back to that. I can catapult myself and be underneath that car any moment I want, and be like, thank God I'm not under a car, listening to Jose tell me about a transmission leak and looking at it with my freaking iPhone camera, a flashlight. I'll never have to do that again, unless I'm doing it for fun on my own car to see if something's wrong with it. I'm just like, oh, I'm so grateful. So like, even everything can be taken away from me today. One thing, I mean, I could deplatform, it'd be really hard, but now I know I can make videos. I can always turn on a camera, talk into it, edit it, and put it out there, which a lot of people can't do, which is a skill that I taught myself that everybody should teach themselves, because there's a lot of applications, whether you have a business where you'd want to market it. Like, there's no reason that you'd know how to work a camera in this day and age. But I guess my whole point is I had to risk it to get the biscuit, and I haven't officially got it, but I'm close. I'm like next in line for the buttermilk biscuits.
Do you ever feel like you're one step away from taking it too far and the cancel culture coming after you?
Oh yeah.
Because a lot of the stuff you do does get a little edgy, but it gets through. Do you ever feel like at one point you'll just wake up and something is viral in Elvis, the worst way possible?
Yeah, or don't even bring that up, because I think about that all the time. I'm always like, Sarah Gonzalez, who I work with at the Blaze, she's kind of like my mentor there, just because she's been there longer. I send her, I'm like, hey, I said this. Am I going to get canceled? And it's a real fear. A lot of times she's like, oh, it's not that bad compared to you. And it'll always be like, whenever I think that, like I compare what I did, there's always somebody who's like, oh, I thought when you did this was way worse. So I guess my point is like, I don't even know. It's different. Like, it's perspective. We could draw a 6 on this table, and if you're on the other side of it, it's going to look like a 9. So I guess my point is like, what I think is going to get me canceled, oftentimes other people don't think will get me canceled. And sadly, I'll probably get canceled for something that I didn't think I should get canceled for. If that makes sense. It's not going to be like, because I said Hitler was quote unquote something, I'm going to get canceled for something dumb. Like,
when the people start to put their hands on you and push you in some of those events, like security getting you out, and what's the worst that's happened to you? Have you ever gotten physically punched? Or I know they grabbed your hair, they pulled on you before.
They punched and kicked. Yeah, I mean, I usually don't ever retaliate, but that's what will happen. Like if I get canceled, it'll be something like that, where I get like pushed to the, or it's not even that I'm really worried about getting canceled necessarily, because as long as I don't do anything like really racist or anything that bad, I do worry about getting arrested though. I think I'm going to get arrested at one of these things, or just some cops would be like, you incited a riot, and then that's going to be a big pain in my butt. So that's what I kind of worry about sometimes with these stunts. And honestly, I've also said this too in my head, like some of these stunts I want to get arrested, because then it'd be a bigger story.
Right.
It depends on the situation. Like if I would have got arrested at Barstool Sports, that would have been kind of funny, because New York's criminal justice system is such a joke. I would have been smiling in my mugshot. It would have been really funny. But one of these things, I know I'm probably going to end up in the slammer.
What's the big picture for you, like over the next 2 to 3 years? What's the goal?
Well, I signed a 3-year deal with the Blaze, so hopefully the next 3 years I'll be there. And then Steven Crowder just left, so there's a big void at the Blaze now, where they are really going to put a lot of time and focus on my show. So that's a lot of pressure, because I don't have an audience that Steven Crowder has. He's the biggest, but I think I'll gain something. So with my podcast, dude, Elvis, I got to freaking amp it up, where I'm doing the long form podcast, interviewing people like what you're doing, but I also have to amp up the culture jamming and the wild stunts. and the crazy stuff. Because
how much more can you amp it up though?
That's what I'm saying. I
You
don't know.
already
I don't
getting a
know.
little
It's very extreme, Elvis. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't have a choice. I had to reinvent myself, and we've had to figure out ways and cheaters to do it because there's just ways with all shows that have been doing it for a long time. You have to reinvent ways to make it interesting. And my background in reality TV, I think that's kind of this new digital media era. Is like that's what people kind of want. So it's like, even though it's an Alex Stein talk show, it is kind of like the Alex Stein reality show. Right. Because you're going to see me in real life. It's not just me at the podcast. Hi, I'm with Elvis and this and that, which is great, which is what I want to do. But it's the reality show aspect of like, why do Dave and Alex have beef? That's what people want. They want to know that.
The behind the scenes more of it and things like that.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I want. That's my focus of the show is to be.
Is there anybody else out there that you have beef with?
Yeah, I mean, AOC, I got the most beef with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Well, she has beef with me. I love her. I only have love for her. And Dan Crenshaw, I don't know if you're familiar with Eye Patch McCain, but the congressman from the Houston area, he hates my guts. I mean, just normal. I don't have too much beef. I'm getting more heat as I get bigger. The more people are coming after me. But yeah.
Well, for everybody that hates, there's the other side that loves too, So yes. I feel like it's equal, if not more love than hate.
I do think so. I think so. And I think that's also, God, it sounds so cliche and anecdotal, but I think the bigger you get, you're going to get more hate. So it's like, this is the part of getting bigger, you know what I mean? And I want this.
Do you feel the pressure though?
No,
Are you used to it by now?
When it's funny because when you say pressure, like really the only pressure that I put on myself is I want to make people laugh, and sometimes I do stuff that's cringe, it's not funny. So that's the only time I ever beat myself up, like where I'm like pressure, like, gosh, why wasn't that funny? But I know this, and I keep saying this. As long as I don't get deplatformed, I will continue to make people laugh and I'll have a successful career. I mean, I'm not going to be like, the biggest podcaster in the world. Do I think so? No. But do I think that there's a place in the internet for me to have an audience? Yes. As long as I don't get deplatformed, nothing can stop me, I don't believe.
How do you hold the phone in your hand in some of those situations without it just dropping and losing
hard,
it?
Elvis,
that's
I got
the content.
Selfie stick. I know that's the whole thing.
Do you tape it around your hand though?
It's funny. You see, Elvis asks a good question. I usually always have on all my phones, and I have multiple phones. I have this ring thing, right? Because they knock it out of my hand. But if I had my finger in the ring holder, they can't. That's literally, it's funny you know that.
Because I figured if somebody doesn't like you, that's the first thing they want to smack out of your hand.
Oh, they always are smacking it.
And it's right there.
But if I have my finger in the ring,
that's the magic.
You can't get it out. That's the magic thing. So
what's probably the worst one that you've had where the crowd just went crazy after you?
I mean, well, there's been a couple ones where it's been kind of spooky and scary. You're kind of like, oh crap. I'm trying to think. Like the weirdest one was University of North Texas. That was one of the first ones of this Jeff Younger event where the cops had to escort us to the car and they were following us. But it's also, dude, Elvis, it's also kind of live action role playing. Like these people are LARPing as scary protesters. Now, I'm sure there is somebody in that crowd of 100 that is crazy that probably would stab me. But most of them just like want to yell and scream. It's like a dog. Once it catches up to the car that it's chasing, it doesn't know what to do to the bumper. You know, it doesn't know. Yeah. So once you actually get in these protesters' face, they don't really know what to do other than like spit on me. Like that one, the girl went famous for spitting on me. So like that was gross. People were like, kind of punching and kicking me. But so far I've had yet to have a serious injury, but I'm a little tough. I played football, so I can get knocked around and stay. I'm not like a soy boy. I just get hit and I fall down. So I think that is what separates me is I have a little background getting hit.
Now, I know you said earlier, we talked a little bit about you being one of the producers for the show and that the money then seemed good, but now clearly it seems like you're doing well off.
Well, I am. I'm doing it like the Blaze is paying me well. I'm very gracious to that. But also now I get to go and publicly speak every weekend. I mean, I turn down gigs. And that's almost 10 grand a month in speaking gigs if I really want.
Right.
If I want to go every weekend, I usually try to do 1 or 2 weekends minimum. And so like that is just, I'm just surprised.
Does it take stress off of you though, knowing that it's a little bit easier to reach some financial success?
Duh, Elvis. Oh my gosh. And now I'm going to even amp it up more. I don't spend any of my money. I've been so frugal because I'm anti-materialism. I'm just like, I think that we put a lot of our ego into inanimate objects, and oftentimes that makes us feel bad about ourselves or insecure because we don't have the newest stuff. So for me, it's like, yes, I'm so happy that I have money. I don't have to worry about stuff because now I can put it into my content. It's like you have to kind of invest in yourself. So even though other people are paying me money, like they're like, oh, hiring me, the Blaze hiring me, I'm still like investing in myself. And it's such a nice stress knowing I can do it, not having to worry. You know what I mean?
What's the nicest thing like you bought yourself?
I haven't really bought myself anything nice. I bought myself a couple cameras and some microphones and stuff, but I already had
That's just the best thing though. Back into
exactly. I haven't bought anything nice, and I'm not even going to buy a new car. I'm not going to buy anything until I own a house. I own my house, so I'm not going to buy anything until like I really hit it big. And people should buy nice quality stuff. I'm not like necessarily saying like you shouldn't drive a nice car that lasts and has quality, but it's like when you're like, oh, I don't have the newest 2022 Denali, then I suck. That's where it's like, come on, it's getting poisonous. The inanimate objects is not define your self-worth. So I guess I am going to get something, Elvis, but right now I'm saving it. I'm looking at my bank account. I'm like, man,
it feels good to see the numbers in there, right?
It does feel good, and it feels good. And that's why I also feel guilty too, because I don't worry about my gas tank anymore. I don't worry about, little stuff like, oh, $100 here or there. But I know other people are struggling right now, and that's why I don't like that. I actually kind of feel bad. It's like, oh, I'm doing well, but I just know other people out there just barely making it, Elvis.
Are you truly happy with what you do?
Yes, and I'm not just saying that. I really am. Like the fact that I get to actually make content for a living is yes, because I was not doing that for a living. I was making content for other people too. So I thought I was being, I thought I was like following my passion, but nothing makes me feel better than doing something on my own. Even though like, I work for the Blaze, they pay, pay me, but I built it by myself with nothing, and it feels so freaking good. Like I can't tell you. This is the other thing in life, guys. I'm telling you, I'm not a role model. I'm like Charles Barkley in the 80s. Don't follow my path. I'm insane. But everybody should have a hobby, and they should be creating something. Whether it's a family or something. Like you don't just be, complacent. And I promise you will get pleasure. Whether it's learning how to work a camera, starting a podcast. There's a million different other type of hobbies. But we should be doing something, creating something, and that's what gave me like my depression, anxiety, so much better since I created. You would think even though you get a little more scrutiny on the internet, it's worth it. It's way better. At least I'm being productive.
Yeah, I mean, to talk a little bit more on it, so you did have some depression and anxiety down the road at a younger age. Or do you still have it? Do you still?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, I don't know if like I got all kinds of problems. I got depression, anxiety. I think it's more just because I'm mentally insane. But I don't have the. Like, I'm so against antidepressants, though. Like, I think we just give all these kids SSRIs. And, like, we even know that the side effect of a lot of these antidepressants is suicidal tendencies, like suicidal idolization. So, yeah, I just don't like the pharmaceutical industrial complex one bit. I don't think a pill is going to actually help you. I think the only way you help your depression, anxiety is exercise, eating better. That's how you do it, like your diet and exercise and like being productive in life.
I mean, you have high energy. You always seem like you're out and about it. What's if you're having high and great energy 6 days out of the week, on that one bad day, what is something that makes Alex depressed? What is something that brings you down? Is it just negative thoughts that come to your head, or what is it that could kind of bring your mood down a little bit?
Well, yeah, because I mean, everybody has, the same insecurities. And for me, it's like people are like, oh, you want to be famous? Well, of course, I want some fame. I want people to watch my stuff. But like, what gives me anxiety is worrying about the things I can't control, which I try to get better at that, And I don't know which example to use, but I'm like stuff I can't control, and I worry about it, and then I'm like get depressed and anxious about something I can't control until I can convince myself, look, it's out of my hands. Don't worry about it. Then I feel better. But that's usually what'll bug me, my anxiety.
Yeah, I've had a lot of anxiety issues as well. I'm getting a little bit better at it now too. I used to work out like 7 days a week, take a lot of pre-workout in one day.
That can give you anxiety.
3-4 scoops, and I ended up in the emergency room.
Wow.
Had the ambulance come and get me, and I thought I was dying. I thought I had a heart attack. I couldn't breathe.
From all the pre-workout.
I just took too much at one point. And ever since then, that triggered my anxiety. And then after that, I would have a sip of coffee. My heart starts racing again. I'm panicking. And so for like 5-6 years, I've dealt with like high anxiety. And, that's when you really realize the power that anxiety has. And a lot of people don't understand it if they've never dealt with it. But now, like that, I've been through it. As soon as you mention anxiety, I'm like, I know exactly what you're talking about. And usually for me, what would help is if I didn't want to take any medicine, it would have to be like a a drink of like a margarita or Jack and Coke, or right? It's like a little bit of alcohol to kind of take the edge off.
But see, I don't like that though, because it does take the edge off, but then it has a rebound effect. It causes you more anxiety when you're you know the hangover. That's why I don't drink alcohol. That's probably why I have a lot of energy.
I stopped 7 months ago.
Yeah.
So you don't drink alcohol at all?
No.
Yeah, me neither. No. I stopped 7 months ago, and
I've
been in the best shape of my life.
Yeah, I mean, I might puff or eat in a gummy or edible occasionally. You know but that's as hardcore as I take it. Only because listen, other people want to drink. I think now, looking back, I'm probably actually allergic to alcohol because it messes with my mental health so much, and nothing is for anybody out there. If you're suffering from anxiety and depression, the alcohol does temporarily fix it, like because all of a sudden now you feel good, but it makes it worse. You know, so you're just never going to fix it in the long run. Temporarily, you can keep fixing it, but the leak is just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger till where you can't fix it with alcohol.
Yeah, no, I haven't drank a sip of alcohol in 7 months, and I feel great right now. You know, I'm best shape of my life.
See, it's funny how that, and like I said, I think alcohol is totally fine too, but we tend to not drink it in moderation. You know, we always, at least not me, I tend to binge drink when I drink too.
Do you have plans of having a big company around you down the road where you have other employees working for you and you not so much being the front and the face of it? Or?
You know, it's funny you say that, Elvis. I like that, but I actually, you know, I sold cars. I had a car lot, and I could have made that bigger too. Like I had a lot of banks, like you got to do the in-house financing, this, and this. You can grow your business tenfold. And I had a lot of opportunities where I could have signed up and I could have kind of sold out and got bigger. But I actually really like this thing called the KISS method, and that's keep it simple, stupid, where even at the Blaze, like they like want me to have more employees on my show. I actually kind of like to do all the work myself. I'm kind of a micromanager. Like even in a car, I like to be the one driving. So yeah, I mean, do I have aspirations for having like a bigger primetime Alex Stein company, employees and content? Yeah, but like Tim Pool, but at the same time, no, I don't even necessarily want to be, I don't really even consider myself a great businessman. Because going into business, I like the content. I like to make people laugh. So for me, I just want to build a big enough thing where I can have a show, I can broadcast that show, and I have a team around me that makes it where I'm not just totally, you know, killing myself to put it out.
Right. I mean, with a lot of the content you put out, you're definitely very entertaining. You're a comedian. Do you ever feel like people sometimes overlook the genius behind the comedy?
Well, there's no genius.
I mean, it does take a lot of skill of what you do as well, you know. And it's like, even though the people at home get to laugh, like that takes some type of skill. It takes courage. It takes, you know, adrenaline is rushing.
I appreciate that, and it's funny because I really do appreciate that. I don't want to seem like not gracious, but then this is me name dropping Tim Pool last night. I was like, talking about my Barstool Sports, like Alex is really smart. I'm like, guys, I'm not really that smart. If anything, I'm kind of quick-witted, I guess, but I'm really not that smart. I mean, I don't read, like I do read a lot. I guess my point is I don't really think that I'm like super book smart. Socially, street smart, yeah, I kind of am. So maybe that's makes me funny. But do I expect people like to watch my content and be like, this guy's a genius? No, I think they should expect the opposite. This guy's mentally insane.
I mean, but I feel like almost like you also know what works too. You know, it's like it's almost like, and that takes some type of mental skill behind it, is to know that this type of content works and people are loving it. But it is also truly you. I'm just saying, you're not just going out there for the camera and being wild, and you really are a smart man too.
Well, see, and you nailed it, Elvis. That's the one thing. I remember when I started my podcast, and I'm sure you're like this, like, you know, you emulate Rogan or any podcaster, like looks up to these bigger podcasters. And one of these guys I was looking up to was Larry King, and he said, somebody was like, it was like one of his last shows, and like, you know, Larry, what's your advice for other broadcasters? And he's like, well, when I learned to be myself, and I think that's all it really takes. It's like really just be yourself, and then you don't have to stress out. Like even before this interview, I'm like, oh, I got to go do this interview. It's kind of annoying. Like I want to make people laugh, but what I always tell myself is like, just be myself. Don't try too hard, and people will laugh. Yeah, that's for everybody, guys. Just be yourself. Don't try to be somebody else.
Yeah, but the thing is, like in society, people grow up in elementary school, middle school, high school, and they get so used to having to not be themselves. Yeah, you know, you got to please this crowd. You want to sit with this table at lunch. You want to play for this football team. You want to fit in with these people. So your whole childhood, you're trying to fit in and not be yourself. And it's almost like they make it impossible to be yourself in the schools because of all these groups that they start to create. So by the time you finally graduate, and then you get to the real world, and then you're starting to slowly understand, like, it's okay to be yourself. It's okay. You're going to find the right people out there for you that fit your friendship and your group. And even right now, I'm sure there's circles and cliques that maybe you go out there and you don't fit with them.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
But you just go the other way.
No, you're exactly right. And too, that's funny that you use that kind of analogy of high school because you really don't become yourself till you're about 25. I think like even in college, you kind of don't know yourself. Like I'd say like around 25, you almost kind of start to become yourself. But it goes to this point. It's easy for me to be like, don't worry about the opinions of strangers because everybody cares about the opinions of strangers. But really, you shouldn't worry about the opinions of strangers. You should be unapologetically yourself.
Yeah. Do comments ever bother you? I know a lot of people. They either do or they don't, but I'm sure at one point there's some comments that get you a little bit.
Well, it's funny you say that because I was just on a guy's podcast and he said, and his name's Aaron, and I keep talking about it, where he was like trashing me on his podcast. So then I decided to go on his, and he said this comment. He's like, Alex Stein gets lots of great compliments, but you only hear the bad ones, and that's with everybody. It's like you get 100, oh, you're funny, but then you hear the one bad comments like you're a fat idiot loser. Of course, that one sticks out.
Sometimes it'll be the ones that you never think would get to you. It's like your editing sucks, and it hurts so bad.
Yeah, it's
like,
kind of weird. I mean, you
not
had to be
my
a zombie.
editing.
I'm saying you'd have to be like a dead person to not be affected by the comments.
Yeah.
I don't lose too much sleep over
Yeah,
it. But yeah, it
thing
does
is,
affect you.
once you're doing numbers, and the numbers, of course, kind of verify that you're doing something right too. So it's like one bad comment out of thousands of good ones, it's not gonna.
Yeah,
hurt.
it's not that big a deal. But even a few bad comments, not that, because there's always going to be counter signalers too. Even the people that like you, like there's people that just all they do is react to my content. And they say that they hate my content, but they literally react to every single thing, Elvis, that I do. Yeah. Whether it's a picture I post, like they have to react to it. So I'm saying I've noticed that from me watching YouTube and stuff. Reaction channels, there's all these type of people that run reaction channels where they say they hate the person they react to. They secretly love that person because that's the person they get all their content from. It's like there's this thing, John Melendez, Stuttering John from the Howard Stern Show. There's all these content creators now. It's called the Dabblerverse. It's hard to explain if you're not familiar with it, where they just react to his podcast. And so they all act like, oh, we hate this John guy. But they all love him. So I guess my point is some of the people on the internet that say they hate you the most, that watch all your stuff, they're actually your biggest fans.
Yeah. Do you feel like you see yourself and your business evolving over time? Do you feel like you're going to – at what point do you stop doing the current content that you're doing?
Well, I mean, it has to change.
We're getting older day
That's
by
what I'm saying,
day.
though. It has to change. Like I'll always randomly probably go to a city council meeting or something like that just because it's more funny. But I can't keep doing that. I have to evolve. I have to go – confront more politicians, get bigger politicians, go to wilder social situations, go to bigger companies. Like now is at Barstool Sports. Looks like I'm going to have to go to Twitter headquarters. I'm going to have to go to Apple headquarters. I mean, the headquarter gimmick, now I'm going to have to go and do it more. Just saying, it's always another angle, another gimmick. It's like professional wrestling. And I know everything's like professional wrestling. That's a cliche, but it literally is like that, where it's like the same thing, but we're going to have to repackage Time Alex Stein in a different way.
Do you ever try to kind of sit and think how much time is being spent for a certain clip or scene, like whether it's worth your time? For example, like even if you want to go to
all the
Twitter
time,
right now,
all the time.
Is it going to make back the revenue needed, and how extreme do you have to get to for the revenue to match with the time and effort that it took to go over there?
Well, and that's my problem too, is I don't look at it too much like revenue, which I should. I should be a little more business pragmatic because I leave money on the table. Like I should be selling more merch. All these people are like business managers, like you should be doing this, you should be doing this, which I am. I do want to actually become, a little more dialed into my business acumen. But at the same time, it's like I'm not ready to sell out because I'm still trying to like kind of build what I am. Like I don't even want to like have merch yet until I'm like big enough, I guess. I know that sounds weird, but it's because I idolize Howard Stern, and Howard Stern never really sold merch because he was always too cool for merch. I'm not too cool for merch, but I just don't want to be a total grifter shill right at the beginning. I want to slowly kind of figure out how I can make money being myself and not having to sell out.
Understood. I mean, the future seems very bright for you.
I guess, yeah. I mean, the future is bright as long as I don't get deplatformed. As long as now I have a name for myself. Now people are like, "Hey, Alex, I need your help for this," because I've definitely exposed a lot of this, and I actually kind of feel guilty. A lot of this drag queen story time, in front of children, the indoctrination of children. We've exposed a lot of that. So now they're doing that at even more of an alarming rate, where now it's more kid-friendly drag shows. So I'm just saying there's constantly people are feeding me content, feeding me ideas. So as long as I don't get kicked off the internet, there's a plethora of stuff for me to go call out that separates me from your normal content creator. I do have a niche as long as I don't get deplatformed. Primetime 99 is going to grind and shine.
Yeah. Is there anything that you want to say to like the kids at home watching that one day want to be a famous YouTuber or, just
do it. No, a lot of teachers say, oh, go to college. Don't listen to them. Get a camera, get an editing program, and learn how to edit on TikTok. Because even if you don't get a stupid job at a college, you can get a job working for any company. Any individual will always need some sort of video for them to sell whatever their freaking product is. So if you can actually shoot something, you can actually edit it. It might sound dumb. Oh, you're going to be a YouTuber. Forget about you being the star of the show. If you can make other stuff the star of the show, if you can learn that skill, and it's very simple. Editing sounds hard, but it's literally just, making sure the music and audio matches with the voices and, adding transitions to scenes. If you mess with it at a young age, you can learn this, and you'll have a skill that will make you necessary for a million different aspects, like not just being a stupid YouTuber. That's where you start. You start off as a YouTuber making your dumb videos, and then next thing you know, you get hired by a marketing company to make marketing videos.
There you go. Well, thank you so much for coming on to our show. We covered a lot. I know you're a busy man. You definitely motivated a lot of viewers out there that one day want to become something
Elvis,
else.
and that's the last thing I got to say. Listen, my favorite thing is people are like, oh, do you like the likes? Do you like the clicks? Of course, duh. But my favorite thing, Elvis, is when people come up to me and they're like, I went and I spoke at a school board meeting. I went and I spoke at my city council meeting. Because you did it, because I saw how dumb you acted. I wasn't scared to do it anymore.
There you go.
And that's what I like, because I'm not going to be able to change the world by myself. You're not going to be able to change the world by yourself. But if we all go out there and stand up at the local level, you think, oh, it's not important because it's not the president of the United States. No, it's more important to do it at the local level. That's where change happens.
I feel like even if you change one person's life at a time, you're doing something right? And it's like you can maybe motivate 2 people today, but that's 2 people more today than it was yesterday. And over a year, over a decade, you've changed so many people's lives. And I feel like as long as you keep that in the back of your head, sky's the limit. So let's keep motivating people and let's keep uplifting people. You make people laugh. And for that, we thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Alex Stein, thank you so much. Good night.
Thank you.
No, that was awesome.
That was
Thank
great.
you.